Today's podcast is brought to you by Progresso Talent Partners, who for more than 25 years have successfully delivered interim and permanent leadership talent to transform businesses. To hire the talent you need to enable your business to thrive, visit www.progressotalent.com today. Hey listeners, welcome back to Extrology, Insights and Inspiration for a Life of Purpose. Today we're diving into some of the most extraordinary stories of resilience and the human capacity to overcome. These are tales of setbacks transformed into success, adversity met with courage, and challenges that shaped not just lives, but legacies. In this playlist you'll hear from 6 incredible individuals, each with a story as inspiring as it is profound. From Claire Smith's battle with addiction to Mark Reeves turning trauma into joy, and from Les Flitcroft's recovery against all odds to Chris Billam-Smith's journey to becoming a world champion boxer. These are stories that teach us how to rise stronger. So what's the story behind the story? Without further ado, let's get into it. First up with Claire Smith, who talks of the power of endurance and self-belief. From addiction to becoming a record-breaking endurance athlete, Claire overcame the scars of trauma to rewrite her story as an ultra-endurance athlete, achieving feats like completing 2 ultra triathlons back-to-back, something no one else in the UK has accomplished. In our first extract, Claire reflects on how running saved her life.
I think I was just really struggling with my life at that point. It wasn't going in the direction I wanted it to.
Right.
I was a graphic designer and I'd had my own business. And then all of a sudden, I found myself in a relationship with someone much older than me. It wasn't the healthiest of relationships. We were both drinking. It was that kind of environment we were in, like advertising, printing, it's high pressure and it's just not particularly healthy. The relationship itself, there was violence involved.
Right.
It wasn't great. And then I got pregnant. And so I was, 19, 20. We eventually split up. And I, was living in a flat on my own with a newborn. And I was just like, wow, how have I got to this point? Because before I had my own business, not particularly successful. I was young, but I was trying to forge my way as a businesswoman. That's what I wanted to be in graphic design. And now I'm in a flat on my own with no money, with an alcoholic ex who was causing me drama. And it was just like, oh my goodness, what am I going to do? And I knew that I've had this drive, but I didn't know where to put it. So running for a little while. And there was a book, I think it was like the London Marathon Training Guide or something. And Liz McColgan was on the front of it. And I remember buying it and thinking, yeah, this is what I'm going to do. And I think for a little while, it was just like, it kind of, bridged a gap, if you like. But it
just gives you that purpose,
kind
perhaps?
of, yeah, and a bit of
sense
hope,
of purpose and hope.
And I was going around the streets with Jess in a pushchair, like early mornings, like when the postman was out, just running, and I think it would clear my head and I'd get back and then I'd sort of just feel like everyone does when you do your exercise first thing in the morning, you feel great, don't you? And I think it was just then I made that connection and just thought, right, I need to do this. So I was mid-30s, I'd met my now ex-husband, and we had a child and we had a lovely family home and things were a lot more settled. I was still very much controlling my eating. It was a massive part of my life growing up. And I think exercise at that point was just about it was just controlling calories and burning off calories and things like that. It wasn't, it wasn't to do races or anything like that. And I was aware that obviously wasn't particularly healthy.
Yeah.
But I did enjoy running. Not so much the cycling and the swimming at that point. And we had a big hill behind us and we had a dog and I used to go running with the dog. So I was aware, I put 2 things together that I was enjoying it. And then I started a running club.
You started the running club?
Yeah, as you do.
Okay.
And it was a really small thing. And it was just a few ladies kind of joined me and stuff like that. And a few of them were like, because I'm not very fast, so a few of them were faster than me. And eventually the group disbanded and it just became like 3 or 4 of the people that we really got on. And so it just was us as a core. And we decided to train for the New Forest Marathon. So I'd done the half years back. So I was like, yeah, I got this. As I say, I was still really struggling with my eating at that point. So I definitely wasn't eating enough to be training for a marathon. And I definitely paid for that. But ultimately, I was successful. We all did. We all completed it.
It's a hard marathon, right?
Yeah,
It's hilly.
It was hilly. And this is before it was the trail. So it was on the road, and it was, it was tricky. And then I kind of got a buzz. And I think because what happened, I kind of hit the wall because I wasn't eating enough and I didn't do the time that I wanted to do. And so then I decided that I would do another marathon like 3 weeks later. So I did another one. I had shin splints, so bad shin splints.
Because you didn't get the time.
Yeah, and I didn't
that was just eating away at right.
And I was so green. I was so inexperienced. I had really bad shin splints. I turned up. I had this is like David Goggins style. I had like gaffer tape sort of wrapped around my shins to keep my, and the medic looked at me and he was like, and I was like, no, it's fine, don't worry, I'll be okay. And the marathon I chose was the Clarendon one, which is off-road, which you can't compare a road and an off-road marathon. The off-roads, especially in the kind of autumn, you're always going to be slower. But of course I didn't know. So I basically did the exact same time. I came home, sat in the bath crying, and my husband then was just like, what are you doing? And I think I then tried to do another one just to get this magical time, which I think was just like 4:30 or something. I didn't get close to it, but I think it highlighted that there's something, in me that I can push myself. I've got this kind of drive, and it definitely, that highlighted that.
Next up, she's commentary on the grueling physical and emotional journey of an ultra triathlon. What do you think you learned about yourself as a consequence of that experience?
That I can do anything, really, if I put my mind to it. And I don't know, I mean, just be patient with myself a bit more. I'm very, very hard on myself. That's probably the worst thing. And I know it frustrates a lot of people around me that are close to me because I'm, overly hard on myself. And I think out there I learned just to be a bit kinder to myself. I remember at one point there wasn't a lot of showering going on and the showers were really basic. And I remember trying to wash my hair, obviously have a shower, and I was washing my clothes as well with my feet. And I remember crying, and I was just like, this is the ultimate multitasking. And I was just like, just give yourself a break. But I was just trying to keep all the balls in the air still. And, that just wasn't, I remember just thinking, just stop washing your clothes. It doesn't matter. No one cares. And stop showering because it's just a waste of time. We stopped showering. One of the other girls said, well, I can't smell you. And I was like, I can't smell you. And she was like, we've just become nose blind. I was like, I think everyone else could, but it was like you're in that Decker bubble again where it doesn't matter. So.
And do you think it's fascinating to think, so the endurance, I'm trying to understand where the pain comes. Not in necessarily, I'm just wondering, the body, so the mind is really what is driving this, right? Ultimately, you could convince the body to do any one of a number of things. Yeah. If the mind, is where the strength really comes from. Is that a fair assessment?
Mm. And I think it's knowing that you can take a lot of pain. And I learned, I have a problem with my back and my feet where I get extreme nerve pain, crazy pain sometimes. And I've learnt over the years, I can't do anything about it. I have to work with it and just take regular breaks just to ease it and things like that. But I think I just learned that, just because I did an event, a challenge, like a solo challenge a few years ago, and I don't talk about it very much. I don't feel like it was a particular win, but it's called the Tour, and it's 164 miles on the coast path, and you kind of go from you can go either way. You can go Charmouth to Studland and then back again, or the other way. It's just really, it's a difficult event. Yeah. But because of the pain in my feet, I couldn't do it non-stop, and I tried it twice. And in the end, I just had to say to myself, look, it's your own event. No one cares. Just do it the way you can do it. And it took, I think, 4 days in the end. And I was having to sleep. I was carrying a pack as well because I like to make things really hard for myself, obviously. But in the end, I was sleeping on the trail. I had a tent and we just take regular breaks of 4 or 5 hours. So the whole thing took longer, but it meant I can still do it. You just kind of got to work with yourself and just work with what you've got. So I guess I just became a bit more trying to be less hard on myself, which is difficult.
What makes Claire's story so remarkable is the way she reframed pain as power. We often think of resilience as something external, a hard shell to protect us, but Claire shows us it's internal. It's all about learning to sit with discomfort, process it, and let it propel you forward. Her episode reminds us that no matter how low we feel, we always have the power to start over. I encourage you to listen to Claire's full journey. Her story doesn't just inspire, it challenges you to reconsider what you're capable of. Gareth de la Torre's episode is an incredible insight into redefining normal in the face of adversity. Gareth talks about his battles living with epilepsy and reclaiming his independence. After an accident left him with epilepsy, Gareth lost his career, his marriage, and his sense of self. Yet he rebuilt his life step by step, discovering strength in the smallest of victories and joy in adapting to a new normal. In our first clip, Gareth debunks myths about epilepsy.
I mean, epilepsy is a neurological illness, and it's basically like an electrical activity in your brain that then just kind of shuts your body down. But there's various different types of epilepsy. Some people only suffer seizures when they're asleep. Some people have what they call absent seizures, which is like the daydreaming, just staring into space. I think when we talk about epilepsy, everybody imagines the shaking seizures and foaming at the mouth and that. But that I don't tend to do that quite a lot. So I have done, but I don't tend to have those kind of seizures. I tend to just drop wherever I am. So.
And is it fair to assume, therefore, that so every seizure could be different, and it manifests for those that suffer from epilepsy in a variety of differing ways? So it's not like, I don't know, a diagnosis whereby a doctor is able to say to you, right, so this is what's happening, so this is what you would now expect. It's almost that uncertainty of this could manifest in any one of a number of ways.
There's loads of different facets to it, and I don't think we really truly understand all of it. As you come out of a seizure, there's a stage called the postictal stage, which is actually the seizure's finished, but you're just coming out of it. And for a time, I used to go like walkabout, like sleepwalking, not knowing that I was doing it. There's low, and it has this real big knock-on effect, because the anti-seizure medication that they give you or try you on, I mean, there's so many on the market now, but you tend not to take one. It's trying to work out that combination of two or three together that will best control your seizures. But then that has a knock-on effect with the side effects. Like, I'm quite often, after I take it, sometimes I feel overly tired and quite nauseous sometimes taking it. So that kind of, has that effect. As well as the epilepsy, you have to then take this medication to help control your seizures.
He also talks about the importance of creating small wins.
I guess it's like running the marathon. When you try and change your life, you're inspired. You have this epiphany. All right, I'm going to change my life. I'm going to sort things out. For the first few miles, it's easy because you're motivated. You know. Then gradually on, it gets a bit difficult. And then as you're coming to the end, you're, like in the marathon, I was thinking, I'll get to that lamppost. And when I run to that lamppost, right, I'll run to that sign at the end of the road. And when you get to that, right, I'm going to, you tend to bite off big chunks at the beginning. But as you go further through, you have to take smaller chunks and do it. And it all doesn't happen as you want. It's about not giving up. And I know that sounds really corny, just don't let that enter your mind and be an option. Just don't give up. I would say to people running the London Marathon, you start and you finish, and in between, what you're literally doing is persuading yourself not to stop. That is essentially what that is. And I think that maybe that's the inherent in my personality, that I treat everything like a competitive sport. I don't like to lose. I set high expectations for myself, and I fall short of them all the time. And falling short of them all the time is what drives me on to do more. So I don't think it's a clear message. It's just, whatever you decide to do, don't give up. Someone more intelligent than me said, if all your dreams were going to come true, how big would you dream if you knew you were never going to fail? And I think that is the catalyst of what you need to do. Don't think big, shoot for the stars, and don't give up.
Gareth's story is a masterclass in patience and perspective. It's easy to overlook the importance of small wins when we're focused on the big picture, but Gareth teaches us that resilience is built one step at a time. His episode isn't just about epilepsy. It's about how well we can all adapt and thrive when life doesn't go as planned. This is one of our top 5 most downloaded episodes, and for good reason. Every moment of his story is a lesson in perseverance. Darryl Edwards took us through his journey of healing through play, rediscovering joy and health after trauma. A survivor of the 7/7 London bombings and a man who faced devastating personal loss, Darryl turned to movement as a way to reclaim his life. Today, he's a leader in promoting the transformative power of play through his primal play method. In our first clip, Darryl talks of finding joy in movement.
The essence of it, the core of it, is that most of us find exercise a chore. We're bored by it. It doesn't excite us. The results may excite us. The outcomes may excite us. Being able to, score the winning goal, in a weekend 5-a-side football match, that may excite us. But the process itself doesn't for many of us. And that's what happened to me. Movement is one of the best things we can do for our health. So our physical health, our mental health, our emotional health, it's pretty much the kind of poly pill for health. So because of that, I didn't want to go back to a sedentary lifestyle. I didn't want to go back to having high blood pressure. And, if I can control it, of course, if I can't, then I can't. But whilst I can control those health conditions, which would likely mean a premature death, then I want to continue to move, right? But I recognize that it wasn't in the way that I enjoyed previously or tried to enjoy. And so it became about the process. So I was like, what I enjoyed back as a kid in relation to movement wasn't the end of the day and went, wasn't today a fantastic day because we played all those games and we had all of that fun. It was in the moment. It was like 5 minutes in, you'd be like, this is the best time of my life. Whatever you'd be, playing, whatever you'd be playing, right? And these individuals are the best individuals I could ever meet at any point in my entire life, right here, right now. That feeling I recognized I'd lost. I'd lost almost that innocence, that exploration, that sort of like curiosity about movement in the sense of, what am I capable of? What can I explore in the environment around me? How can I interact with others in relation to movement?
He also offers great insight on the emotional power of play.
So if we move this way, the frequency, the intensity, the duration, all of that, if we do that, these are the health outcomes. We can reduce the risk of chronic disease. We can manage symptoms of chronic disease. We can slow down the aging process. We can improve our likelihood of longevity. We can improve our mental health. We can improve our emotional health. We can reduce the risk of cognitive decline, Alzheimer's, dementia. So there's a whole, Bible of research around the benefits of physical activity for health, right? So those are 2 of those pillars: evolution, modern exercise, science. The last pillar, which is the play, is play psychology. So how can I take this, what humans are designed to do, with this, what we need to do now in the 21st century to adapt to sedentary kind of environments? How can I make that palatable? How can I make it interesting? How can I make somebody want to do this again and again and again? And so I use play psychology. So play psychology is basically how we respond to playful behavior. And that playful behavior has a kind of intrinsic value around motivation and sustainability, where you don't really care. Of course, there's always going to be times you care about what other people think and say about your behavior. But in many respects, there's this, you're driven by this pursuit of joy, of pleasure. And this joy and pleasure is one of kind of ludic quality, of playful quality. And so active play gives you the benefit of both worlds, of this kind of like, I'm getting stuff done. So I do want, I don't just want to roll down a hill or blow up balloons and say, hey, I'm playing. Because if I do so, I'm not going to improve my strength, right? I'm not going to get my cardiovascular kind of aerobic fitness from doing activities like that. I want to be pushing, working hard through playing hard. So I want to get all of those fitness benefits, but through play.
Darryl's story challenges the way we think about healing. Trauma doesn't have to be confronted head on. It can be eased through joy, curiosity and creativity. His episode is a call to action to rethink how we approach physical and emotional health. Play isn't just an escape, it's a lifeline. Listening to his full episode will leave you inspired to find joy in unexpected places. Chris Billam-Smith is a world champion boxer. His lessons from the ring talk of how he used failure as a foundation for success. From humble beginnings to becoming a world champion, Chris's journey highlights the mental fortitude required to overcome defeat and rise to the top. In our first clip, Chris reflects on failure as growth.
I've always been quite a positive person, so I've clung on to any positive to take from things. So there wasn't ever a moment where I thought I've learned from that, I've just, like I said, I've been stubborn and and I think boxing's taught me that as I go on, and I read a lot of self-help books, and, you know, whether that's on sport or athletes or businesses or whatever it may be, or any successful person, you know, like yourself, I really like, really intrigued to find out what drives people and how people become successful and how they've got there. And you look at any successful person and they failed. And I think I've learned that as I've got older and stuff. But then I look back on my own career and my own journey and think I failed there, I failed there, I failed there, I failed there. But now I'm here. So without those failures, I probably wouldn't be here. I probably would have maybe quit a long time ago. You know, I got to 2 ABA finals, which is the pinnacle of amateur boxing in the country, other than boxing internationally. So domestically, it's the pinnacle, and it's a very prestigious title to win. I got to 2 finals, boxed well both times, and unfortunately lost. And I think without those losses, I wouldn't be where I am today. So I'm quite glad I didn't get decisions, even though in both fights, people thought I'd won the fight, especially the first one in 2013. I had someone sat next to a judge at ringside. One of the officials actually grabbed me and said, "You were robbed there, mate," like as I got out of the ring. But I was just pleased with my performance. And that for me was, I think, in boxing, you've got to be happy with your performance early on. And that's got to be the focus and not the result.
He also gives insight on respect in the ring. What else do you think boxing has given you? I mean, there's clearly a mental toughness to you and a resilience to you, which is admirable. But what else do you think you've learned from boxing?
Respect. I'd say respect, because I played football my whole life up till I was 18, even dabbled a bit when I had my shoulder injury. Before surgery, I thought, if I break my leg now playing football, I've got 6 months out of my shoulder anyway, so I might as well have a broken leg at the same time. And I love football. I missed it and I couldn't do it while I was boxing. So I thought I'd give that a go. But I played football whilst I was boxing for the first few years, and I gave football up because I'd lost the respect for football, because boxing had taught me the discipline and respect. You know, you can have a fight with someone and then literally last second of the round, you're trying to take his head off, you're trying to knock him out. The bell goes and you're hugging the man and you respect him, and there's just a respect that only, I believe, combat sports can teach you. It's just, it's something different. It's the sort of people that get into the ring and you know, you're having a fight with a bloke, and then you can shake their hands after and you just have the utmost respect for them. Once you share the ring with someone, you always have that sort of binding relationship. And I think that's half the reason I stopped playing football, because I'd learned this new respect from boxing.
Chris reminds us that resilience is a skill, not a trait. It's something you build punch by punch, failure by failure. His insights on goal setting and mental discipline are relevant not just to life in the ring, but life in general. This episode is full of lessons for anyone striving for greatness. You'll want to hear the whole thing. Les Flitcroft talked with us about bridging science and healing, transforming despair into a life of purpose. After a horrific accident nearly cost him his arm, Les discovered pranic healing. Not only did it help him recover physically, but it opened the door to a new purpose, helping others heal. In our first clip, Les reflects on his life-altering accident.
I was playing football at the time, and I was in a sports hall. I was up in the north end of England, actually, in a tournament, And unfortunately, there was an accident. I was running towards the wall in the sports hall, and the guy behind me apparently tripped. I catapulted into the wall, banged my head, went to get up, and my arms weren't where they should have been anymore, especially my left hand. So I badly broke both of my arms, but the left arm became very, very a complicated break. And I was sent to hospital, spent then, unfortunately, 2 weeks in hospital, 5 operations, and I nearly lost my arm, basically. The right arm was broken, so that was just in a normal cast, but I had 5 operations on my left arm, and I remember the specialist sat on the edge of the bed and saying, well, we've actually saved your arm, but the likelihood that you'll ever get your left arm back to use is next to zero. The nerves have been so badly damaged through the accident and through subsequent operations. And I spent 2 weeks in hospital. So from that, then my arm was paralysed.
In this second clip, combining science with healing.
We're sort of starting to understand it more now, but the field of science has got a long way to go to try and get to those truths, if you like, or to really understand it. Because like you say, one thing, you can't see it. So thought patterns, you can't really see. They're doing loads of series of tests on the mind and the brain, and, if we feel this, how we think this, certain areas of the brain will illuminate, but we still can't understand how we openly generate that thought process. So yes, it's very, very difficult. And if you take, shall we say, Western medicine, if you think about it, if there is no cell damage or tissue damage, there's no diagnosis. They can't pinpoint the problem. So like even say, let's take something, fibromyalgia. It's becoming very common in people nowadays, fibromyalgia. So the person has body aches, muscle tension, problems like that, and they've now named it as fibromyalgia. But they don't know the core of the problem. The core of the problem with fibromyalgia is, if you say I'm uptight, what does that really mean? I'm uptight, you tense the body. Now, the muscles go into fatigue because if you, like I used to do, weight training, if you work the muscles enough, they get fatigued and they ache. With fibromyalgia, if you're overly stressed and have tension in the body, eventually the muscles will go into tension and get fatigued. It causes body aches. But there's no bridging of that gap. If you've got fibromyalgia, the medical science is still looking at the physical problem. They don't bridge the gap into the psychological problem. Then as psychologists, they can understand that if you're stressed, you have this, there's a process that your mind has created. So they try and help to follow the process back to try and help you to make sense of what your mind's creating. So you can overpower, with willpower to overpower it. But it's saying it doesn't bridge back into physical pain or problems. So a lot of people have pain in the body. There's no physical sign why that person has pain. So they can't diagnose anything. So we're still in that problem where medical science and psychology still aren't bridging the gaps.
Les's episode is our most downloaded for a reason. It's transformational. He takes something as intangible as healing and makes it relatable and actionable. His story shows us that resilience sometimes means stepping outside our comfort zones and exploring new possibilities. Don't miss this incredible conversation. Lastly, we've Mark Reeves, finding purpose through the waves, turning trauma into a source of joy and inspiration. After witnessing the attempted murder of his father at a young age, Mark faced a lifetime of challenges. But through Shaka Surf, he's found healing and purpose, helping others rediscover themselves through the ocean. Mark reflects on surviving childhood trauma.
So I was playing on the skateboard that I made right outside the door of this shop. And suddenly this blue Bedford van pulled up. There's old school 70s Bedford vans. And a load of guys jumped out the back, out the passenger door. And I've looked up, and they've all got these stockings over their heads, like, distorted faces. I still see it now. They're their noses all squashed up against their faces, big, like big guys. Knives, axes, guns apparently, but I didn't see them. But yeah, so that they've jumped out, get out of the way, pushed me out of the way. I thought, whoa, I'm tiny, I'm like 8 years old. And I was a bit of a like, what are you doing? Like that. I was like, whoa, it just took me by. So I thought, what do I do? Right, I need to help. So I ran across the road, knocked on the door, no one. No. So I shouted through the letterbox, opened the letterbox. I always remember my dad eating spaghetti. Right, and he had it dangling down his face trying to get it in. Mum, Dad, somebody's robbing the shop. So he's got up. My dad's not a violent man or anything like that. He's the most chilled bloke, you could ever meet. And my mum's quite aggy, she wouldn't take no shit. And so they both come running out. They've run across the road. I've run with them. My sister's at school, so, she was coming at, or she was at some thing after school. So she didn't see it. And so I run in the shop. My dad said, get out. Like that. So my dad's jumped on this guy from behind, and I'm there. The door's open. My mum's gone in there. They've thrown my mum underneath the drink fish. You always remember, because you remember the All White's lemonade?
Yes.
Those bottles, and always remember them. They slammed that over her and trapped her underneath. And she's seen this massive knife, like this like machete type of knife. And I've watched her, and she's kicked it underneath the freezer. Like, because she's kicked it, so that's gone. So I'm watching all that. My dad's pretty much beating this guy up, basically. I've never seen my dad do it. I was like, blimey. And then they've obviously realised they're in trouble. So the drivers come out, push me out of the way again. Got this knife, probably about 8-10 inches, right in front of me, just gone straight in my dad's neck. Down there. Not across, it's gone down. And it's
down into it, down through his...
It's gone down
through his spine.
It's punctured his lung.
Goodness me.
He's got this knife sticking out of him, blood everywhere, and my mum's screaming, and my dad's, what's going on? I'm going to pass out. And I didn't know what pass out meant, because I was, does that take me die? No, like that. And obviously this guy's sped off.
The thing that strikes me is you lose some innocence. You lose a lot of innocence, right? You're growing up overnight. You're being thrown into a world that you never expect to find yourself in.
To be honest with you, it's the best thing that ever happened to me.
Was there a point at which you felt, I'm ready to start to open up about this now? Was there?
Yeah. I got over it a long time ago. Well, perhaps I haven't. I think I have. But I didn't let it affect my life at all, really. Even from, 21 onwards, I think I was fine after that. But obviously, I was a little bit insecure. I didn't trust many people. Didn't believe in myself. Thought that bigger people were better than me, which is weird. Obviously, because all I remember is these big guys. I was just a bit insecure growing up. And I think now, since I've met Jules, my partner, I think she's such a lovely person. She's helped me evolve into the person I am now. So she's put me in the best place I've ever been in, which is why I can probably speak about it.
On the joy of helping others.
I've always had a love of surfing since I was 21. And I didn't know what to do with my life at the time. And I was working in engineering and saw sharpening, which I'd done for 30 years. And I was at a stage of my life where I thought, well, I need something else. I was single. I need something else. So I started volunteering for the Wave Project, which is surf therapy for teenagers, kids that suffered trauma, ADHD, autism. And basically you're volunteering to help kids on a little 5-week course and see what it does, basically. So it's kind of a trial.
What was the appeal of doing that from your point of view?
I think it was just going around in the surf community and friends were talking about it. And I thought, well, that's interesting. Every weekend you go down, you do it for nothing. You go down there and just talk to these kids. And then these kids come in and they're down in the dumps. Like, they've suffered whatever in their lives and they come down, their heads are down. They don't want to talk to you. They don't want to be there. And then after the first session, they start getting to know you. And in the water, it's a calming effect, especially with kids with ADHD and autism. They become normal and all their problems go away. And I watched it work over the 6 weeks, from high-fiving us at the end and shouting, yeah, loving life. So it's a thing that really works. So that really stuck out in my head. Well, this is good. I like this. How can I do this for a living? Like surfing. So that's how it basically started with Shaka Surf. So
Mark's story is one of transformation, but it's also about forgiveness of the past, of circumstances, and even of ourselves. His episode offers a unique perspective on how resilience can help us not just survive trauma, but use it to create something beautiful. These stories are a testament to the strength of the human spirit. They remind us that resilience is a journey, not a destination. Whether it's Claire's triumphs in endurance, Gareth's courage in living with epilepsy, or Chris's mental fortitude in the ring, each journey inspires us to reflect on our own capacity for resilience, showing what's possible when we refuse to give up. If these highlights moved you, don't stop here. Go back and listen to the full episodes. You can find the links you need on the Resilience and Overcoming Challenges playlist at extrology.com. And while you're here, we'd love it if you could leave us a review. It makes a huge difference in helping us reach more listeners. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on socials, and sign up for our newsletter at extrology.com for regular insights and exclusive content. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next time. Just a reminder, today's podcast is brought to you by Progresso Talent Partners. Visit www.progressotalent.com today for more information.